So when did you get back from Iceland?
I got back from Iceland a little over a week ago.
Okay. And was it like an Icelandic show that you were doing, or was it just like for funsies to lift the
Yes.
Husafell?
Yeah. So I competed at Falconon last year and I came in third last year. So I guess that was so cool that they invited me back.
Yeah,
And this year I took it all. So that was pretty cool.
nice.
Um, and then I got to lift the Husafell earlier in the week, which like that was the goal, that I was going to arrive earlier so that I could go play around with the Husafell and then have enough days for my body to recover and then compete.
Nice. That's so cool. When I saw the video of you lifting it, it was just like, fuck, like that's my goal. Like, what a dream just to go to Iceland and lift it. Like, that's so iconic. That's so cool, dude.
I knew Jen was going to do it. So like it wasn't a surprise to me, but it was a surprise to everybody else, which is even cooler.
Yeah, that's so exciting. And you didn't walk, where you tried to walk with it?
Um so we were there for a while and I was trying to pick it up. I got it off of the ground, like, I don't know, that much off the ground 5 or 6 or 7 times. So I had already been there for, I don't know, maybe 30 to 40 minutes playing around with things and starting to get tired. And then my
Mm,
coach, Nancy Johnson, was like on the phone with me, which was super cool to be able to share that moment with her.
yeah.
And two of the other ladies, Raga Jonas' daughter, which she has previously picked up the stone, which was really cool to have her there.
Yeah.
And we were just talking. And I was like, all right, like one more go, one more go. Like, I was like, I'm happy that I picked it off the ground, but like in my mind, I was like, I'm not happy. Like, I need to pick up the stone, right? And everybody was just kind of like talking. You can actually hear Nancy and Tyler like talking in the video on the group on the video chat end, and they were like, "Allie, what if you like do this and flip it like this?" And I just like blocked everybody out what they were saying, and I was just like, "Ah!" and picked it up. They're like, "Whoa, what's happening?" And then I'm just like screaming, like picking it up. I had to do it.
Yeah.
I didn't walk with it. Like I got it to like almost a full standing position, and then it just started to slip. So
Fuck.
I wasn't gonna push my luck. I was super happy that I lapped it and stood up with it because less
Yeah.
than, well, four, now five women in the world have done that, but I was the fourth woman in the world to like
Fuck yeah.
lap it and stand.
Is it like slick? It looks like a slippery rock.
It was pretty slick. Yeah.
Did you have liquid chalk with you?
I did have some liquid chalk, yes. And
Okay.
that was it. Like nothing else. Like I brought my stone sleeves. I brought like other stuff. I think part of the reason why I just kept like picking it up before is because it like kept slipping off of my pants,
Mm-hmm.
which I did struggle with that. And I wore like some sturdier pants. I wore like Carhartt leggings, which are kind of like thick
Yep.
and like not slick like regular leggings. But I like literally had to chalk my knees. I was like, give me that and chalk my
Oh,
knees so that it would kind of stick a little bit because it just kept like
yeah.
slipping off. Because one side is like really,
Mm,
really rounded and it just kept slipping. And the other side was like, is more structured. So
right.
that side stuck.
Well, welcome back to the podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Ali Abbs. She is the fourth woman to lap the Husafell stone and the eighth woman to pick it off the ground. And if you don't know what the Husafell stone is, it is a 186 kilo or 410 stone in Iceland that has been there for probably hundreds of years, which is amazing. She also earned her pro status at the Olympic City Pro-Am in March of this year, and she has competed all over the world. She's going back to Singapore this year to defend her title at the Extinct Games. So, Ali, welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy to have you on here. Not gonna lie, I've been wanting to have you on since I watched the Pro City or Pro-Am for the Olympic City, and I was a little nervous. You were very strong and intimidating, and I'm very honored to have you because you seem super strong and I'm very excited to have you on here today. So welcome.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. I'm really excited.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I always kind of start with an icebreaker, and I'm going to ask you, um, would you rather? Would you rather an
Ooh.
axle or a log clean and press away?
Axel, for sure.
Axle, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
For me anyway. Most embarrassing gym fail.
Oh, man. I've had quite a few, so this is difficult, but maybe in competition one time I had a Mauser block press. So I think it was an axle press, and I was still a novice at this time. I came from a powerlifting background. I had no idea what I was doing. So like I had never touched a Mauser block at all. And I go to press this thing. It's like 28 degrees Fahrenheit outside. We're all freezing. This was like during still like COVID protocols and stuff. And I get it to about like here, and it just dropped directly on my face. And I was just like, so
Oh,
that's a good one. And then I had like a big egg on my head for the rest of the competition, and I just like put a hat on, and I was like, I'm fine.
nothing to see here. It's fine, guys.
Yeah, that was a pretty good one.
So you said that you came from a powerlifting background. So tell me about your history as an athlete. So how did you get started? Who noticed your potential and who suggested strength sports to you? Or even further back, like were you in college or university playing sports or in high school playing sports? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I mean, we can kind of start from the beginning. Like, I was always a really active kid, bigger than the other girls, so always playing with the boys, like, definitely a tomboy. But in high school, I was really into music. So I play upright bass, and then I started with drumline, and drumline is very physical. Carrying around a bass drum that uh, the wind can take you either way. You start to build quite a core, and having to load all of the equipment constantly, like it definitely adds up. In college, I went to school for music, and I continued with drumline in university. Yeah, and
That's
I
so
also
cool.
played. Yeah. So like fun facts, super into music. Um, so that was kind of like how I got my start. I did drumline in the fall season, and then I needed something in the spring season to keep me busy because that took up so many hours of my day. And I can't sit still if you haven't noticed.
Same.
I can't sit still. So I had to like do something, and I started just like going to the gym and doing like bodybuilding, like bro pump kind of stuff. But I loved it, and then just it's taken off from there. Um, After college, I actually got like really, really sick with migraines. And I've had those like majority of my life. But I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, you need to make some lifestyle changes. And that's when I like got into strength sports, and I met my previous coach at the gym there, and he saw something in me. I mean, I was a pretty sick 22-year-old girl that was like trying to come back from migraines and just like figure out life. I was honestly in a very low point in my life, but he saw that potential, and that's when I started powerlifting. And yeah, that was not 8 or 9 years ago. I think
Wow.
that I
Nice.
did my first powerlifting competition. I fell in love with that because, like, I don't know, I just really like being strong and
Yeah.
whatnot. It's
There's
amazing.
something about it, right? Like it's nice to feel empowered.
Yeah, for sure. I love being. I mean, not always because I get tired, but I love being that go-to person. It's like, oh, you're
Yeah.
strong, you can do it, and somebody's like struggling with it. I'm like, are you serious? Like, I can pick this up with one hand. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I've kind of always been that person, I guess, because I was so used to moving around like percussion equipment and
Yeah.
whatnot, and just like being a tomboy, like that kind of stuff has always come kind of natural to me. And if I can't pick it
Yeah.
up, like I'm gonna try harder to pick it up, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
So, how
yeah.
long have you been doing powerlifting for how long then?
So I guess 8 or 9 years ago is when I did my first competition for powerlifting.
Mm,
And I was like pretty decent at it. I never went to like nationals or anything because I didn't really have the money to.
mm.
But I was pretty okay at it. I mean, I hit 1,000 pound total and exceeded that by the time I
Nice.
stopped powerlifting.
Right.
I did revisit powerlifting this February, and it was like a dream come true of the numbers that I hit. So
Hell yeah.
yeah, and I hit a
That's
500
exciting.
pound squat.
Yeah. And then at Olympic City, you hit a PR on your deadlift too, correct?
Yeah. So deadlift has always been my weak lift because in
Well,
powerlifting
I
I
mean,
was
short arms,
always,
right?
yeah. I mean, I have really long legs and my arms like aren't. I don't think my arms are as long as my legs are. So my body is just like completely built for a squat, and there's no changing that. So like my squat has always been pretty much exactly the same as my deadlift, or slightly more. So at Olympic City, I hit 536,
Right.
and I tied with Stacy for second place on that because there was no way I was chasing Jackie for sure.
She had more in the tank. We all knew it. If the Arnold
She
wasn't in
did,
her way, she probably could have pulled six.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
But she set a record, and that was amazing. And I just
Yeah.
stayed in my lane, and I hit my own little PR. That was actually a really interesting day because they misloaded my first attempt, or told me that it
Oh,
was, yeah, they said that it was 475 or 485, whatever it was, but it was actually only like 465. And I went and I pulled
oh,
that. Yeah. So then I like wasted my first attempt, and um, they gave me like a fourth attempt. So then
good.
I looked at my coach and said, okay, 485 is the next attempt, which was going to be my first attempt, or I can bump up to like, I don't know, 507 or something like that. And fun fact, I've never pulled over 501. And I looked
Nice.
Nancy in the eye and I said, I am not lifting 485. I am pulling 507. And she was like, I mean, okay. Like she just like saw it in my eyes. So technically, my first attempt was a PR.
Nice.
So I'll take it. I was like, I got this. Like, don't
That's
worry. And she
exciting.
just trusted me to do it. So
Mhm. Good for you. Well, and it
yeah.
sounded like you were pretty resolute that you were going to get that.
Oh, 100%. Because like I knew that I was going to get the next jump as well. I just
Yeah.
felt it in my bones.
Yeah. And honestly, when it comes to like Jackie getting the record, that was a PR for her, but for you, that was still a PR. And like that's one
Yeah,
thing that I always tell my clients. I don't know what you tell your clients, but sometimes staying in your lane and just focusing on your own successes is what keeps you going. And it takes away the animosity from other competitors of being better because it's like we're all coming in at different strengths with different things, and if you can just focus on what you're good at and focus on what you came to do and what your gym PRs are that you're here to beat, you're going to have a great day.
exactly. And that's what I had to do, because I feel like I had more
Mhm.
in the tank as well, and I could have gone up to like 550 or whatever the next jump was, and could have taken that, but I would have been
Yeah,
taking
actually.
away. I would have been taking away from the gas that
Mhm.
I had in the tank to finish out the day. And like
Yeah.
one thing that Nancy and I have really been working on is like my mindset. And
Mhm.
I had to look inward at that point and say, okay, I'm really, really happy with 536. And I'm going to take that because I'm not going to chase Jackie, who's like 50 pounds more than me. And like, that's okay. I'm going to take where I'm at and then save the gas for the rest of the day. So I
Yeah.
really had to stay in my lane and be like, okay. And I finished
Yeah.
second on the event. So, like, it worked out.
Yeah. And honestly, that's the wise decision, not just the smart decision, that's the wise decision. And
Yeah.
I find it takes some athletes a lot of work to get to that point, especially when they know they have just a few, like 10 more kilos in them.
Yeah, it's taken me a while to get to this point as well. So
Nice.
again,
That's
that's the
awesome.
mindset that we've been working on.
That's awesome. So how long have you been doing strongman for then?
Um, so I guess I started in the fall of 2020. One of my buddies said, "Hey, you're strong. You should try this. There's a competition that needs more ladies. It's in 4 weeks." And I said, "What?" So I did a novice competition then, and then a couple months later, I did another novice competition. And then I hung out with powerlifting for a while, and I didn't do my first open competition until 20 February of 2022.
Okay.
So like I
Not
dipped my
bad.
toe in, and then did powerlifting for a while. I had some goals that I wanted to achieve, and then
Hmm.
like I competed in South Carolina's Strongest Woman in February of 22, and I won. And I
Atta
was like,
girl.
wow, this is crazy. I might be kind of good at this.
Yeah. What were some of the challenges that you faced as a strength athlete, and what steps did you have to take to overcome them? This is a bit more of a deeper question, so if you want to take your time, feel free.
Yeah, so I feel like I faced a lot of challenges as a strength athlete. Obviously, number one, being a woman as a strength athlete and having to like prove myself that I'm strong and I belong in spaces
Mhm.
that men are pushing now the same weight as me. But really just like, back in the day having to like fight for equipment and things like that because people didn't take me
Yeah.
seriously because I was a woman or smaller or whatever the reasons, and just kind of being respected in general.
Mhm.
Um, but also a really big one for me has been body weight and body image, like issues as a strength athlete, and like feeling the need to cut weight and make myself smaller. Even though I
Mhm.
wanted to make myself stronger, I still had that sense when I first started, to make myself smaller to fit into like certain weight classes because I've always been like 200 pounds give or take when I started, and I just really wanted to get into that 180 weight class or 185 that powerlifting
Mhm.
had.
Yeah. That's always a tough issue, hey, is being open and trying to decide to cut or not. And like for me, I'm tall, I'm 6 feet. And I think you said you're 5'6".
Yeah, I'm only 5'6".
Yeah. So, and you said that you were 185 in the past, right? So what was that like to have to cut down to that? Because I mean, that was back in your powerlifting days, and we did talk about this earlier this week, but like, what was it like to have that pressure to fit into that to be good?
Well, my body weight was sitting around 200 pounds. And I felt good. I looked good. all these things, right? At that time, the numbers, like the qualifying numbers for nationals for USAPL, kept like bumping up, bumping up, bumping up. I was like, all right, well, I'll just, what most weight class athletes do. I'll make myself smaller and still be lifting those same weights so that I can qualify for nationals. Huh. Huh. Um, not. I I don't even know. I made myself so sick. I took like 6 months to do it. So it's not like I was trying to water cut 15 pounds overnight, you know?
No.
I took 6 months to cut 15 pounds, but 200 was kind of already like the bottom of my limit. And then I dropped down to like 195. And then I started looking like really slim, you know? And I think I got down, I had to be 185. I think I was probably about 187, 188, and then I had to water cut the rest of the way. And it was same day weigh in.
Oh,
Yeah, it was bad. It was really bad. I couldn't even deadlift 300 pounds that day.
yeah, no shit.
Yeah,
You're
because I
so
was like ready
depleted.
to keel over. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
awful.
Oh my
And
God.
I was
So,
also a miserable person. Like, I didn't even want to be around myself, let alone everybody else being around me, you know?
yeah, yeah. So, how did you find that relationship to be like? Did you want to get down there and stay there, or were you just doing it for powerlifting?
It was really just for powerlifting. Um, it was an ego thing. Like, for
Mm.
sure, looking back on it, it was 100% ego thing. Um, I had to look myself in the mirror and say, hey, this is not for you. You
Hmm.
look very skinny. You look frail. You couldn't even hit these you couldn't even hit numbers that you hit when you started powerlifting like a few years back. I couldn't even hit those numbers because I was
Wow.
so depleted. So it was kind of a wake up call. And I said, all right, time to grow into the open class because there weren't
Mhm.
any other weight classes at that time. Now there's like a 200 and a 220, and depending on the
Mhm.
federation, all the way up to 308 and 308 plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I remember, so I'm 6 feet and like I graduated high school at like 175 pounds. I thought I was fat. No, I was
Yeah.
not at all. Like looking back, it was like I was a twig. And I remember in my third or fourth year of university, I was doing CrossFit and I was trying to get smaller because I was trying to weigh less so that kipping pull-ups didn't suck. Imagine. Guess who also tweaked her shoulder doing kipping pull-ups?
Ooh.
Anyways, I was doing the whole 30 challenge, and I remember walking into class one day and I was beat. Like, I was counting down the minutes, the hours until I could eat again. And I was just like, I feel so gross. I felt so depleted. I was tired. Like, energy was through the floor. And one of the classmates looked at me. She's like, wow, you're looking really good. And I was like, really? Thanks. I feel like shit. And she was like, "Oh, like she didn't expect that." But it was like I was sitting at 200. Like I started strongman at 212, I think. And I was made fun of by the other heavyweights because I was super light and I was in a weight category that these girls were big girls. Like they were 225 and heavier. And so I was made fun of a lot. I was just a big, tall string bean. But like I was the big girl in CrossFit. And it was such a mental thing because everyone would just talk about their weight and everyone would talk about cutting and everyone was, oh, I just have to drop weight so I can be better on like ring muscle ups or whatever. And it was
Yeah.
just like being in that cult. Well, maybe it's not like that with different gyms, but that gym specifically, or that box, if you will, everyone was so obsessed about cutting. Everyone was obsessed about it. And it's just like, it wasn't, it led me ultimately to strongman, but mentally everyone was focused on dropping. And it was not good. I ended up at the end of the diet bouncing back up to 205, 210, but like my body was happy there. And my body was clearly trying to tell me that I was being an idiot for getting below 200.
Yeah, my body did something similar. And I think I got up, I was probably like 212 as well. And I remember that being a number that I hung out at. Um, Afterwards, like that's where my body kind of bounced back up to. I also messed up my hormones. It took me 2 years to correct my hormones. Um,
What?
yeah,
Ooh, 2 years
yeah,
is a
I
long
was,
time, girl.
yeah, it took me, I feel like it took me 2 years to recover from that weight cut fully.
Mm,
Because like I was missing periods. I had
mm,
some injuries that got really, really bad. I had like some dislocations in my hip and pelvis regions that like my body and
hmm.
my core just wasn't able to stabilize.
Yeah.
And just like the constant stress of not eating and too much cardio, you know? So
Well,
like I
and you
really
probably,
majorly messed up my body.
yeah, well, and you probably were lacking the fat stores that make up the fatty cushions in your hip sockets too, because your body was
That part.
using that as energy.
Mhm.
Oh, girl.
Absolutely.
Isn't that
Yeah.
interesting? Hey, like the world's so even in the fitness spaces, the world so glamorizes being tone and lean, but it's just our bodies aren't meant for that. I've got big farmer shoulders. Like if you look at my grandmother,
Same.
who was a farmer's wife, yeah, it's like we were not meant to be small women. And that's the majority, but the minority are the ones that are setting the standard, and then us majority are just feeling terrible until we have a wake up call and we call the BS on everything and just decide to do our own thing. But then the fight still continues. Like, I don't know about you, but in strongman, there's still the want and the desire to be lean and a tone athlete. And it's like some of our bodies aren't made for that. And it can get toxic to the point where that's all the women obsess about, even the men too. It's not just a female problem predominantly, but like the men just don't talk about
Absolutely. The men don't talk about it much, and it's still borderline eating disorder or whatever you
it.
want to
Mm,
call it. Um, but for the women, like you said, your farmer shoulders. I was born with some broad ass shoulders, right?
yep.
And I may only be 5'6", but my hands are really big. My feet are
Mhm.
size 11. Like I've
Yeah.
always had wide shoulders and wide hips, and like everything about me has always been bigger. So why was I
Yeah.
wanting to shrink myself to fit into something that like I obviously wasn't meant to be? But I see this
Yeah.
all the time with especially women or men that get into this sport or any strength sport that involves a weight category, and they're like, "Oh, I'm just 10 or 20 pounds over that weight category, so I'll just cut weight and bump down into it." And it's like, yeah, but you are strong where you're at now. You're going to
Hmm.
lose that strength, and it's
Yeah.
going to take a while to build that back up. If you try to cut weight and then like you're not going to do well, it's your first show or whatever.
Yeah.
Like don't go in as you are, like where your body
Yes.
sits. You can eat food. Like don't make yourself miserable right off the bat. Please, please, please don't.
That's what I tell my new clients who have just started strongman. They're like, should I cut? Should I cut? No, no, you shouldn't cut. You should stay where you're at for 1 to 2 years, figure it out. Maybe year two, hire a nutritionist to like help your body get healthy. But like, we're not cutting. You don't eat, you have a negative view on your body, you have a negative view on nutrition. Cutting is only going to enhance that diet culture that's going to send you down a spiraling path. Like, no, don't cut. What are you doing? Don't cut. Just eat healthy, prioritize protein, get your water, get your sleep, and get strong. Focus on the gym, focus on your gains. the weight loss will come naturally. In fact, it's probably going to look more like a body recomposition. You probably won't lose anything beyond 10 pounds. Like you'll probably just recomp, and you're going to have to be okay with that. Therapy, it helps.
Yeah. Therapy does help. That body recomp, though, I am super heavy on that word, and talking to people about it because currently I weigh 300 pounds. Usually in the off season, I sit 10 pounds, give or take 10 pounds below.
Yeah.
And then in the on season, I'm between 0 and 10 pounds over, right? Um,
Hmm.
and I've sat here for like 2.5 years, right? I've been exactly the same. Like 300 pounds is what shows on the scale every time I step on it, right? But
Hmm.
my body looks so much different than it did
Yeah.
2.5 years ago. Like
Yeah.
it's completely different, right? And I
Hmm.
mean, yeah, it probably looks kind of similar to like every weight that I hit on the way up from 200 to 300. And I know
Right.
that's 100 pounds. And it sounds crazy, but like, this is the best that my body has ever felt. And
Hmm.
I'm eating very well. I'm sleeping for the first time in my life. I'm on a decent sleep schedule, which has never happened because I've been an insomniac
Hmm.
my whole life.
Oof.
And I'm staying hydrated. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like the big three, I'm eating, sleeping, and drinking water, and I'm
Yeah.
feeling recovered. It's crazy what has happened once
Hmm.
you kind of just let your body do its own thing and see where it wants to
Yeah.
sit.
How did you deal with the mental side of things from going from smaller to bigger? Because a lot of strong women come into this being big already, wanting to get small, but you saw strength, your coaches saw potential, and you said, screw it, I'm just going to let my body do what it's going to do. That's not average. So how did you
Yeah.
swing that mindset to work in your favor and to be successful?
So this is a really interesting question. So after I had that discussion with myself about getting bigger and growing into the open class, um, I kind of created a persona
Hmm.
that helped me really be okay with my body and getting bigger. So, when T Pain says thicker than a Snicker, I went
Yeah.
with that. And my persona is Miss Thicker Than. It's on my powerlifting belt. It's on my hard belt. It's Miss Thicker Than. I actually have a boudoir page that's Miss Thicker Than. So boudoir actually helps me a lot as well. I got linked up with this photographer, and she is absolutely amazing. Her page is Caitlin Scott. She's actually traveling the world, traveling the U.S. right now in the RV, taking pictures for people. She's amazing, so go look her up.
Cool.
But she helps me a lot, and that persona helps me a lot to really just be okay with my body, and
Mhm.
embrace it and all of the changes that were happening. And
Yeah.
like, I did stop looking at the scale for a while and just let
Mhm.
my body do its thing.
Yeah. And how do you look at the scale now? Because I like some days the scale gets the best of me, but other days it's just like, it's just a number. It's just a tool.
Now it's pretty much just a tool. I like to look at it to make sure that my body is in check. Like if I've
Mhm.
lost 10 pounds overnight or something, or from week to week, if I've lost 10 pounds, I'm like, whoa, I don't think I've eaten enough this week. And it forces
Concerning.
me, yeah. But my body does swing quite a bit, with my
Mm.
hormones and whatnot. So there are
Yes.
weeks that I will lose like 6 to 10 pounds.
Yep.
Like after my period,
Yep.
I will drop, and then it slowly builds back up again. But I also like track my cycle and all of that, so
Yep.
I know kind of where my body sits within my hormonal cycle as well, and that
Cool.
helps me just kind of make sure that I'm where I'm at.
What does the
Okay.
strongman scene look like in the area or state that you're from? Because, like, I love asking this question because it's so different in every state or in Canada in every province. So, what does it look like for you?
Yeah. So it was kind of non-existent in South Carolina for a few years. I think like for 5 years there hadn't been anything hosted. And then my buddy that got me into it decided that he was going to host South Carolina's Strongest, which I competed in. And then we kind of decided, I was living in Myrtle Beach at the time, so right near him. And that's when we were like, all right, let's like start doing a weekly strongman class. Let's see if people come, hang out. And we started to build that up a bit. And then I moved to Charleston, South Carolina, so like 2 hours south of Myrtle. And there was a powerlifting and like CrossFit community here. And one other woman who I train with now, and she was here doing strongman, but also kind of CrossFit, kind of whatever,
Yeah.
doing it by herself. And I said, hey, you want to do some strongman stuff together? And then we started kind of like teaching classes. I mean, there were weeks where we showed up like nobody else was here, but
Mhm.
we're like, well, this is something that we like care about and feel strongly or passionate about, so let's keep doing
Mhm.
it. And then we finally like built up a class that we coach and hosted a
Cool.
couple competitions. So yeah.
It's really awesome when gyms allow you to do that because I know up here in Canada, or it might be the same down in the States, like not every gym is welcoming of strongman stuff, mainly because unlike classes or CrossFit, it doesn't bring in the same kind of money.
I agree. I just got really lucky. I had known the owner of this gym for
Yeah.
years, for powerlifting. So like that really helped. And that
Yep.
she kind of already
Yep.
trusted me. And also like it is a woman owned gym and she sees two badass women trying
Cool.
to do something really cool. And she's like, yeah, sure. And then like her husband welds things and whatnot. So he's built some things for us. We've had some other like dads here that have too much time on their hands and they've built some stuff
Nice.
for us. So like we've kind of like got everybody kind of invested. And
Yeah.
if you ask Ashley, my training partner, I'm really good at like convincing people to do things. So
Atta
it's
girl.
like, what do we need now? Let me see what magic I can work.
I need a Conan's wheel.
We actually got a Conan's wheel built for us. The
That's
middle of it
awesome.
is a basketball hoop, like the basketball hoop base, because that was laying around. So
That's so
that's the
smart.
base of it. And then they, I think he used like yoke upright for one
Okay.
side of
Yeah.
it, and then like another piece of metal that he had laying around. I mean, it's not the
It
prettiest
works.
Coleman's wheel, but it works. And we actually used it for our competition back in November, and it was awesome.
So if you had to start all over again with strongman and or powerlifting, so you can answer either one, what would you do differently or would you do anything differently?
Um, I don't know if I would necessarily change anything, but so actually, one thing that I haven't talked about is that I also do Highland Games. Um,
Oh,
and that's one piece that I feel way behind on is the throwing aspect of things. So like I wish I would have almost had more time in high school or an introduction to like throwing in track and field,
yeah.
specifically the field part,
Yeah.
because I've started doing more Highland games this year, and that was part of the deal. I told Nancy when she started coaching me in the fall, I said, hey, I'm going to do Highland games for fun. You don't have to coach me. Just know that I'm going to do these. They're pretty low intensity on the body for me because I think I
Mhm.
am so conditioned,
Yeah.
that it doesn't really affect me the way that it does some other like casual athletes. Um, but I wish I would have had a little bit more of that, or like an intro to it. Like my brother threw javelin in high school and college, and I just never really had any exposure to that until I was, I don't know, 29 years old, 28 years old. And
Hmm.
then I was like, oh, I'm kind of good at this throwing thing too, which in
Yeah. What
strongman,
brought
like
you into
throwing
that?
sandbags is my thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So what brought you
Yeah.
into Highland Games?
Um, so some friends of mine, the dancers, run the Holiday Highlander every year in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And
Oh,
that's kind of like an intro. They have an ultimate class, which is kind of a mixture between Highland Games and Strongman. So I said, again, a friend of
cool.
mine was like, you should do this. And I was like, okay, may as well try it.
Yeah.
And I tried it and I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. And then like I didn't do any Highland Games until the following year when I did the ultimate class again. And I was like, okay, this is actually this is still cool. And I'm kind of
Mhm.
good at it. Like I got a little bit better at it as I got stronger and whatnot. And then I did my first Highland Games and I was like, wow, I'm actually like pretty decent at this. And I guess it wasn't until this past year that I was like, all right, I started adding some like throwing drills in, and I discovered that I'm really good at throwing sandbag or throwing kegs or whatever. I can throw heavy, I can throw high, I can throw far. So,
Nice. That's all you need.
yeah, it's just fun for me, you know. And I think like being such an explosive athlete to begin with, like it just works for
Yeah.
me. I'm not always the fastest, but I am pretty explosive, so that fits into
Mhm.
my wheelhouse.
So what's coming up next for you? What do you have next on the roster in terms of competitions,
So
whether that be like Highland Games or powerlifting or strongman?
yeah, so the next thing on my list is America's Strongest Woman in October.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited. It'll be my first time. And then the Extinct Games in
Mhm.
November.
So you're ending your year off on a really cool note in Singapore. That's really
Yeah.
exciting. What is your
Oh,
Instagram
so
handle?
my Instagram handle is abs underscore in progress. Because first of all, my abs will always be in progress. Second of all, it is my last name.
Which is cool.
Uh, yeah, exactly. And then on TikTok, I am Miss underscore thicker than.
Nice. And what's your boudoir page on Instagram?
Boudoir page is Miss underscore thicker than.
Nice. Okay,
Yeah.
sweet. Okay, so you have three more comps coming up this year?
Yeah, so I'll actually have one after Singapore as well, and that'll be the Holiday Highlander. And the signups just went out for that.
Nice.
It's like it's a local competition, but in the East Coast we have some heavy hitters. So already on the list, there's me, Jen, and Nancy. So three pro strong women are already signed up for this competition, and a bunch of our other friends who are also signed up. And it's just going to be one big holiday party of lifting weights with their friends.
Well, is there anything else that people can, anywhere else they can find you to follow along in your journey or support you?
Um, those are all my platforms now, other than good old Facebook. Um, but if there are any more platforms, I will post on there so that you can find me on those other platforms if I choose to do so.
Awesome. Well, Allie, thank you so much for coming on today. It was so much fun getting to know you a little bit more and hearing about your story. Well, thank you so much. Thank you again for listening. And make sure you tune into the next episode. Make sure you go and follow Allie on all of her social platforms. And we will see you on the next episode. Bye.